let's dive right in to learning from Taarika about her work. Why don't you start off, Taarika, just telling us a little bit about the work that you do?
Sure. Thank you, Anand. I hope you can all hear me clearly. So I'm part of actually the communications team in an NGO, and we work with low-income families across India. And many people often ask me, what do people in the communications team do? And my answer to that is always everything, because we always juggle a little bit of everything. But primarily, I think of us kind of like service providers within the organization. So there may be, dossiers on various programs that we have, and those things would be required maybe by the donor relations team. And we would be the team that makes those collaterals. And we would design and write those, or we would design banners and plaques for any events. And we also handle digital media and videos and PR. And anything that basically tells the story of the organization should ideally come from the communications team. So within the team, I do juggle a few of these things, but primarily for me, I focus on the copywriting part of our work.
Thanks. We learned a little more about your work than we knew before. As you've been reflecting on your work this week, how do you see your work connecting to God's original plan for creation?
So actually, when I was reflecting on these questions for today, I began to see that what we essentially do is try to convey meaning through our work. I'm trying to tell someone who's reading what I wrote or watching the video that I made, the reason behind why the organization exists or the reason behind the work. And we also literally create things like essays or videos. So we're actually literally creating things to convey meaning or stories to a third party. So in these things, I begin to see a reflection of our creator God, the one who actually created everything in the world and the one from whom all things flow. And I also see how he is the one that gave everything its meaning. And in this way, I think my work in creating something that tells a story or giving meaning is a reflection of this aspect of God and how He originally intended the world to be.
Thanks, Saru. I think you're reflecting on your work. It's kind of showing us how we can worship God through our work. Thanks for that. The next question I have for you is this: how is your work making you aware of your own brokenness, your own sinfulness, and the brokenness of those around you?
I think one way in which I can directly see brokenness is in how we can't actually create anything perfectly. There's no way that we can actually even convey the meaning or of our cause directly or perfectly to the third person. And I've seen how many ever times I proofread or edit or plan for an event, something always does happen, something goes wrong. So there's no way it can be perfect. And I'm also seeing it in how sometimes when we're trying to convey our cause, people are unemotional or unempathetic to that. And myself first, there are many times that I really don't care about the people on ground that we are serving. So I see so much brokenness in that. And for me personally, in my work, I can just see how that I have sheer anger, sometimes great frustration when things don't go according to plan. It really bugs me. And other times when it comes out well, then I really congratulate myself and I get a great sense of self-worth. Oh, I've achieved something of note today. So I really see so much brokenness in both of those responses.
Thanks, Saru. I think our brokenness, awareness of our own brokenness, creates in us a greater, deeper longing for God Himself. Thank you. Could you share a recent example of how the gospel has made you a better worker?
Yeah, I can actually think of one recent example. I mean, there are many times that my work is just very monotonous. I'm doing the same thing over and over again. I'm writing the same collateral, or I'm having the same, this renegotiation or argument with a colleague to shift a deadline. I'm doing it again and again. And sometimes it's just things like hauling boxes or moving boxes. So recently, when I was doing that, I was just reminded that my work is not for myself, it's not even for my boss or my managing director, but everything is in service of God. And I was reminded that He sees all the little things that I'm doing that no one else sees, and He makes note of it. He really loves me through that. And even when I mess up big time, He still loves me. I'm never going to be separated from Him because of what Jesus did. And just reminding me of this helped me to keep going, to keep doing the things that are not acknowledged at all, and it helps me to be at peace even through doing difficult or tough things.
Yeah. Thanks, Taru. I think thanks. Those are very honest um, reflections. Thank you. The next thing I want to ask you is, how are you able to love and serve others through your work?
I think sometimes being part of the communications team actually gives me a sort of unique way to serve people in the organization, because I think of us as kind of service providers within the organization. So my colleagues are sort of my clients. So be honest, it is sometimes frustrating, but one way that I can serve them is when they come up to me and they ask me for help with the things that they need to put their work ahead of my own personal communications work. Is one way that I can really love and serve them. And I was just reminded of this verse where it said that Jesus, though he was in very nature God, he didn't consider equality with God something to be grasped, and he was just so humble and he served in absolute humility. So it just kind of reminds me that I do have an opportunity to serve others in my organization in this way.
Yeah. Thanks, Taru. The last question I have is, how do you connect your work here and now to the longing for a perfect world that we all experience, a longing for a perfect world that Christ will bring when he comes back again?
So I didn't have very clear thoughts about this, but this question just kind of helped me imagine my work and eternity together. And it's really something I've never done before. But in one way, I was just thinking my work is conveying meaning or creating. And right now, I'm using like vocabulary or visual shots to convey meaning. But I just think in heaven, it's going to be something so much greater. It's going to be something more than I can really imagine. I don't have the words to express it right now. And I think there'll just be so many greater ways that I can communicate something. And to be honest, also the greatest thing ever to communicate, which is God Himself. So that just fills me with a lot of, hope. It fills me with a lot of joy to even think about it. And I feel so confined here, but I feel in eternity, just being able to express myself in those ways will just be so beautiful. So some things that I was thinking about.
Thank you, Taru. As you were sharing, I was just thinking that how many opportunities I'm missing to worship God in the middle of my work. I think every one of your answers, everything that you answered today, is is just a pathway to God. And if we just take time to reflect in God's presence, everything we do just opens up a fresh new connection to God. And thank you for sharing, and thank you for helping us see that. And that's one of the things these interviews are designed to do. These interviews are designed to help us remember the reality, the truth, that we can connect with God through our work. That's part of God's design. And everything we do comes under God's sovereignty. And it's a meaningful connection, and it's an opportunity to worship. Thank you. Thank you, Taru. Really appreciate you taking time to share. And Taru's actually written down her responses. And so this week, when we share the video, we'll also share the full transcript of her thoughts. And thank you for taking that extra step as well. Thank you.